Hi guys, it's Brandon Carble, CEO and President of Hulk Systems, here to talk to you about our Mastics. So Hulk, we developed these last year. We've launched them this year, and they're already on the market. We've got a flexible mastic. Now the flexible mastic we use when we're combining two different materials that necessarily don't go together. They expand or contract at a different rate. Something like metal roofing, that if you step on it, it's going to have a lot of give. You need something flexible. So this mastic, it's essentially a sealant. It looks like honey here. It's two parts, a part A and a part B. The flexible is clear, where it dries clear or a slightly amber color. So this has been mixed. We mixed it as 100% solids, meaning we didn't add any thinner. You can add xylene to the product to thin it down, or to pull it up into a plural caulking gun tube. If anybody's used these, the part A component goes in one side, the part B in the other. They combine in this nozzle, and you can get different tips to create coves and whatnot, but you never want this, either the part A or the part B, touching each other except at the very end, so that you don't cause that chemical reaction and that chemical cure to occur. So it can be put in a gun. The reason we're not diluting it and thinning it out with xylene is we're going to use it on some EPS foam. You don't want to put a thinner solvent onto EPS foam. So at 100% solvents, it is foam safe. If you're using it on another material, feel free to experiment and dilute it a little bit. Or we've got some of our flexible mastic applied to the back of this piece of metal. Reason being, we want it to cure up and then harden so that we can showcase just how flexible this stuff remains. You can see how it moves. It's got really nice spread when it's 100% solids. Somewhere where we would use a lot of this is in our metal roof system. So if you have a connection, a lap joint in a metal roof, and it's one piece of metal connecting to another, and it's going through thermal shock, a lot of freeze thaws, it needs to be able to move and buckle, and so it will move with that system. Another really common place that this is used is on secondary slabs. If you have a slab poured independently, maybe there's a living area under it, or it's above a garage, off of a building, that joint up against the existing building can often be a huge trouble area for movement. So we would use something like this to handle that movement and motion. We might even embed a little bit of the fiberglass. I'm just gonna show you guys how to make a cove. So there are coving tools to shape the product. I'm simply using the stir stick right now. Now I'm going metal to concrete. That's two different materials, so I use the flexible material in this application. We use a lot of this at the cold joint where an ICF wall meets the concrete slab. And then I will take the silicone. So silicone can be clean, but it's also flexible. Create that cove shape. Okay, hard polyurethane coves can be very expensive. This gets you a nice quarter round if you're doing epoxy up the wall or anything else. And these are cheap. You can buy them at the dollar store. It's a really good way to save $1, make a soft cove, as they call it. And you know then that it's going to handle the different movement from the metal to the more rigid movement of the concrete. But I want you to imagine that this is an ICF wall, and this is, say, a gouge out of your ICF wall. You'll notice that this stuff really doesn't shrink. It doesn't have the problems of like wood fillers, for instance. So great for patching all sorts of substrate materials. Again, I'm using the silicone spatula, but you could use probably a rigid metal trowel would be better in this application. It looks like Clive heard me. Thank you, Clive. There. Much better. It's pulling a little bit. I'll just leave it. It's always easier to say I'm not going to disturb it until the next pass. We'll leave it like that. I'm going to show you some applications that we can do on the back of this as well. So if we were to imagine that this was a penetration object protruding through the foam, whether that be a piece of electrical conduit, some plumbing, it might be a flashing, a box, anything that's coming through the foam, and you want to, there we go. There's something coming through the foam. And we want to protect around it. So if we're trying to waterproof this, whether it's the pool system, it's our stucco system, whatever it is, we can't leave this gap here, right? We don't want to leave that. We want to seal that. So we can seal around that very easily. So if we were to imagine one of these being a protrusion, to get the product on there and then hit it with the tool right after. I'm going to use this little spatula for this guy. Now I'm sure you guys can imagine that's all that much more easy when you have it loaded into a plural caulking gun. And then what you can do is you can build up your cementitious, you can build up your coating system over this, and then to finish around that coating, you can also seal around it again. That can be painted over, whatever, what have you. So that kind of showcases the flexible mastic product. Again, product highlights can be used to conjoin two different materials that either move, flex, expand, contract differently from one another. It can marry two surfaces or structures that maybe are moving independently of each other because it has that flexibility. It hardly shrinks at all, and it's available in 100% solids and is foam safe, so great for ICF. Hey guys, so we already looked at the flexible mastic. This is the Hulk rigid mastic, okay? We've purposely done this one in gray. We've got component A in white, component B in black, because then you know when it's mixed. You get this gray mix, so it's 1-to-1. I should mention that. Same thing with the other product. Where it differs is where you want to use this is conjoining materials that are similar in nature, or you need a really hard bond. So floor cracks like this, foundation cracks, you can bond it with this mastic and it'll be the strongest part of that wall or floor. That's just how rigid it is. So it dries very hard. A lot of use in marine applications, but also for doing stuff like coves or repairs. So again, we did a flexible cove here with the flexible material. It's gonna be the same concept with the rigid mastic. I'm just gonna get some on the face of the wall where it meets the concrete here. Also gonna fill this crack here. Now where we use a lot of this, if there's lighting installed in a pool or scuppers, areas like that need to be fixed in place, patching up a concrete pool, it's great for any kind of submersible application. And it's an amazing adhesive too. The flexible product actually is a great adhesive for tile, as it does have that little bit of flex. So a silicone dollar store tool, just because it's a simple way to get that cove shape. And you can achieve a cove. So if you were doing, say, an epoxy floor, you got a little bit of a stub wall, you want to carry your coating up that wall, this is a great way to do it. I'm going to get the flat trowel here. Now I've got a flat trowel, so I showed you how we made that curve with the silicone. Again, this stuff could be thinned out as well with xylene. We're using it on floor, on concrete, so wouldn't have to worry about where if we were using it on foam, we'd have to worry about it eating foam. We don't have to worry about it with this surface material. This trowel, I'm just gonna trowel into this crack and then trowel out the excess. And then you could epoxy right over that. Typically, you're wanting to chase a crack like this, clean it, pack the material in there, and then get a nice, smooth, clean finish. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us, learning about flexible mastic, the rigid mastic, where it can be used. There's so many different applications for this. If you're excited about it, you want to learn more, feel free to reach out by email or give us a call. We're here to help. Happy waterproofing. Hi guys, so we're just taking a look at how these mastics dried. If you remember, we have our rigid and our flexible mastic. The flexible mastic dries an amber color, semi-translucent, but you can see the amount of flexibility that it retains, especially for expansion and contraction materials, cold, any kind of freeze thaw, and you don't get any cracking. You get a nice solid finish though that gives you a great seal around any penetrations. So with the cove that we built from concrete to metal, you can see we still get a little bit of flex out of the flexible material. It's hard. Over here we've got the rigid mastic. It's very hard. We filled this gap. You can see it didn't shrink up, which a lot of products, they tend to shrink. This 100% solids, you don't get that shrinkage like you would with wood fillers or other kind of gap filling sealants. So the rigid is meant on bridging concrete to concrete or a very fixed, stable, rigid substrate, what the same material to itself. This is for bridging two materials together, like the metal and the concrete, where one may move differently from the other. There you go, guys. Two options, depending on the material that you're using, we got you covered.